Hey guys, it's Kip here from KDC Marketing, and in today's video, I want to talk about two kind of school of thoughts for creating websites. And one of them is the design on the fly, and the other is pre-design and development. So I'm going to talk about these two things, some pros and cons to both, especially when it comes to Wix Studio websites. So a lot of people like to design on the fly. And what that means is they're just going to build the website from scratch inside a Wix Studio, not really doing any pre-design work. And they're going to go in and start designing a website. So what that might look like is you have a few sections here, or maybe you start with a blank canvas altogether. And you're just going to start adding sections. So you're going to kind of go in and maybe delete some sections here, and you're going to add a new section down below, and then you're going to start building the website as you go. And I guess you could call this design and develop on the fly. So if this is the way that you like to build websites, I'm going to give you some resources that you can use inside of Wix Studio to help create some structure around that. And then I'm also going to talk about this pre-design and development where you're designing in another tool like Figma and then doing the development inside of Wix Studio. Let me show you what that looks like real quick here. So here's a project I did for a client, and this is inside of Figma, which is a design tool. And I created these mockups, right? So we have the mockups here of these different pages, and we have all the colors, we have all the content. So we have all this content in here for all these pages. And you can see this mockup has about 20 different pages. These are all the different services pages, and it's all pre-designed here in Figma. So then I took these designs and went and actually built the full website inside of Wix Studio. And this is the finished product. And it's not exactly like the Figma prototype, but it's pretty close with other things. Like we have an actual video in here now. And so this is the full developed website based on these Figma website mockups. And these are called high fidelity mockups. These are supposed to look like the real thing. And then I went in and built the website inside of Figma or inside of Wix Studio. So that's kind of this method here, this pre-design and development, design in Figma or some other tool, and you use Wix Studio to develop. And essentially the nice thing about this is I was able to know all the different content and sizes and pixels and have all the icons and imagery ahead of time before I go in and build the website. And this is how I like to do websites most of the time, is just going in and pre-designing first, taking care of all the collaboration, the changes, the revision, getting things to where we like it, and then going in and building. I feel like you waste less time doing it that way. But there also is this other way of designing on the fly inside of Wix Studio. And it kind of fits in with these, this little chart over here, this graph, or this little frame here. So you have a website and there's these kind of core steps that have to happen in order for it to get it done. The sitemap just outlines the different pages in the website. So like the hierarchy and homepage, about page, contact page, and then you go in and wireframe that content. Then you do visual design, and then you do development. Now there might be other steps in here. This is very, very high level. But what we were just looking at in Figma was this. It was visual design, and then that next step happened in Wix Studio, development. So Wix Studio can do a lot of these same things like sitemap and wireframe. There's an AI tool for that. You can use that. They also have a bunch of wireframe sections. And so that's why I wanted to showcase the wireframe here. And I'll get into that in a second. And then there's these templates here. And I think design on the fly is good if you have a good idea of the final product, if you have something very specific you want to do, or if you have another website you can use as inspiration, or you have like a really good mood board or something like that. So sometimes design on the fly can be really good depending on the project. But if you are going to design on the fly, here's a couple of things I would recommend. So inside of Wix Studio, they do have this wireframe section. So you have the wireframes inside of here that you can add as sections. And so these are just placeholder content. So text and images or video content, you can just drag and drop these in. They're designed for all the breakpoints, so they can really speed things up. And you can just kind of mix and match these different wireframe sections in here. So let's say that I really like this card section, this us in the numbers. I just click this in and then I just go in and customize it. So I customize this text, I customize each of these items in this repeater, I add some content to this image, and I have a new section. And because I wanted this to be below my hero section, I'm just going to drag this down. So I got my hero section and this one, but this one's already optimized for all devices. So if I go into tablet, here it is, it looks great. If I go into mobile, here it is optimized for mobile too. So these are going to speed things up. If you create a blank section here with no content in it, then you have to optimize it for all the different breakpoints inside of Wix Studio, which is something that most people hate doing. There is this responsive AI that can get it close to the way there, but you still have to go in and customize it. So that's why I really like these wireframes. I use them all the time. If there's something close enough that I can just tweak a few pieces of this section, I'm going to use this before I use a blank section where I'm starting from scratch, because it's just so much faster. So in addition to those sections, they also have templates. So they have templates that are more visually designed, where they're like a complete website with all the styling, all the typography and colors and content. So there's a bunch of these, and they keep adding to them over time. And then they also have these wireframe templates. So if you just come in here and filter by wireframe, these are the same exact concepts as those other templates, but they're wireframe content. So there's no styling in the typography. There's no colors, really. It's just the placeholder text and placeholder images. And you can pull these open and look at what they look like. So it's just a wireframed website, but it's fully functional. So it has animations in here. It just is ready for you to go in and customize and edit it. So you would just click edit to this template, and then you could customize this whole section. And these are great if you can find a wireframe template that has most of the pages and sections and things that you want. Really great way to start your project and then just customize this from there. The other one is there's these templates built by Wix Studio experts, by Wix partners. And so you can go in and purchase these as well. Some are free, some are paid, and they have information on reviews and ratings and pricing and features. This is another great place to go if you want to design on the fly. And that way you can kind of truly design on the fly with a good starting point. So you're starting with something already existing that you're kind of editing and customizing rather than just starting from scratch. So if you go back to this chart here, I showed you these wireframe sections, the Wix Studio templates, the partner templates, and as part of the Wix Studio templates, they have wireframe or fully designed templates. So there's a couple other tools here. I'm not going to go over these as in depth, but inside of Wix Studio, you can save assets. So if I pull this back open, I go to assets, you can see I have these different libraries here that I have. So like this one, for example, I created some sections in here from another website that I can just pull in and use on any website that I want. So they're like a save section I can reuse. Let me pull in another one here. So these are from the Wix Studio Pitch website that you can just pull in these sections and use them, and then you could customize. So let's say I really like this one. I just click on it. It's going to put this in, and then I would be able to customize this from here. So those are also great. You can save sections. So if I wanted this section to be in my assets, I just click on the section, I right click, and I save as asset. And then I have to tell it where to go and everything like that. There's also some design kits in here, which are cool. These are just pieces of templates. So like this gradient tech one, here's another pre-designed section. You can go to the template and see what it is. So there's lots of ways you can get kind of pre-designed stuff inside of Wix Studio that you can customize. I also have these sections here, which is what you see here, this building connections. I think it's somewhere in here, right here. So if you like this, you can start with this and then edit it from there. So the one that I don't have a lot of time to show you is this AI wireframe sitemap generator. But inside of Wix Studio, you have this section here, this visual sitemap. And so you can generate a sitemap here inside of Wix Studio, and you can have it do wireframes. So If you want it to do the wireframing, I think you have to start from the beginning of a new site. So you'd come into here, you'd say create new site, and you do studio sitemap and wireframes. And then you can fill this out and it'll start creating your sitemap and your wireframes with it. So this is similar to other tools that exist out there that will generate your sitemap and your wireframe for you. But the nice thing is if you know you're going to build your website in Wix Studio, then it's going to be in their existing system and framework. And so you can just start building it out. So again, kind of highlighting these two different ways of designing websites. If you're going to design on the fly, I highly recommend using wireframes, either the sections, the generator, or the templates. And then there's also these other kind of pre-made templates here for you, Wix Studio partner templates or assets or pre-designed sections. If you're going to go this route, which is the route that I like, you just have to know how to use that other tool. So if you are going to use Figma, for example, the tool that I like, then you just have to know how to use it so you can design in that tool. And then Wix Studio can build anything you want. So you can start with a blank canvas and create anything you can imagine. So these sections in here that I created were fairly easy for me to create in Wix Studio. If you had something more complicated, you might, it might take you a little more time to create it. But one of the things I like to do is create similar pages and sections so that I can reuse them. So like you'll see this testimonial section here on the homepage is really similar to this testimonial section here on this other page. So those sections can be kind of duplicated inside of Wix Studio and modified more easily. Same with this header section. I kind of have this image and text right here. You see this kind of in several other places. So when I design the websites in Figma, I'm kind of thinking through that too. Like how can I kind of reuse some of these sections and make the development side, the Wix Studio side of this, the best and easiest as possible. So I can develop the site and build it fast, but also make it effective. So just wanted to showcase this, that I've kind of been thinking about these two things quite a bit. And I think it goes so much faster when you have a plan in place ahead of time. When you get in there and start building, it can just go so many different directions. And sometimes just even staring at a blank canvas is overwhelming. Like, where do you go next? What do you do? So if you have a plan, if you have all this ahead of time, if you have a sitemap, a wireframe, a visual design, then when you get to this final step or phase in development, it becomes pretty easy to know what you're going to build because you have this to look at and to reference. And then you don't have to write anything either or get the images. You already have them. You have everything you need in here to just pull in over into Wix Studio and develop it. So this is my personal favorite, but I can totally see how you could go this other route and get a really good product, especially if you started with this AI wireframe and sitemap generator. You really can do the whole every step in here inside of Wix Studio. You can create the sitemap, you can create the wireframe, you can create the visual design and development. You can do every single piece in here inside of Wix Studio. So it's totally possible. It's just a different approach depending on what you're going for. So I hope you found this video helpful, and I will see you in the next video.